This is Let's Talk Business Radio with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
First up on the show is Emad, the owner of SimpliBookkeeping that provides bookkeeping and financial analysis for businesses. Emad, welcome back to the show. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Marc.
All right, so as a bookkeeper, how do you guys help businesses that are kind of behind in their record keeping, which it can happen? It probably wouldn't happen to Jacob or Jaime, but it could happen to someone like myself. So how do you fix that problem?
Absolutely, Marc. So, as tax season approaches, or we're in it right now, some business owners, they've just neglected their finances for, let's say, maybe a year or 2 years. It's okay if it's been neglected, but you probably need to catch up on it as soon as possible. So what we do is we actually help them out with what's called a cleanup. And so a cleanup on their books is going back maybe a year or two to make sure that we get all the finances, all the books up to date. That way they can get caught up and be able to file those taxes so they're not too far behind.
Is that when they bring you the big shoebox full of receipts and stuff?
That is exactly when they bring us the big shoebox. Yep.
So kind of walk through that process a little bit, for just drawing from memory without using names, maybe a recent customer that did this. Give me an example of that process and how it went.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically, the business owner is a little bit shy. They've neglected their finances. They're a little embarrassed, but they have all this. They have all the items, right? They've got their statements. They've got a lot of the receipts. They, for the most part, have a good idea of how much they've paid their contractors, if they have a payroll system, and also if they have a point of sale system. So we get access to all those pieces of information, and then we sync them all through. We use QuickBooks Online. And so once you integrate everything into one software, then you're really able to kind of organize everything in one place and then really get everything caught up. And so once we're caught up with everything, then we kind of look at their assets, their liabilities, see what they owe and what they own, and then get everything caught up and then come up with a full financial statement for them. From there, then we can actually pass it down to the CPA and have them file taxes.
So if they're not using QuickBooks already, right, if they're just like doing it on a piece of paper with a pencil or maybe an old Excel spreadsheet or something like
Excel,
that, you help them get up and going with all of that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll use their Excel. Sometimes it's got some good data in it. Sometimes it's probably better off if we just start from the beginning, just to take everything into consideration rather than just the bits and pieces. So sometimes there's both scenarios, but if they're not too far deep into their books, it's probably best if we kind of just take over from the beginning. That way we make sure nothing's missed.
Okay. All right. And then what about cost? I mean, where are we at on cost for the type of services you offer with respect to a cleanup?
Yeah, absolutely. So cost varies, of course, because, we've got smaller businesses, medium size, maybe some larger. But for the most part, let's say a business is between $100,000, which is fairly new, to roughly about the $1 million range. If they're about a year and behind, you're looking at maybe about $1,500.
That's all?
For the whole year.
Oh,
That's
wow.
right. What we try to do is we try to make it a little bit simple for them. That way they get started, and then we can help them out on maintaining the books. And from there, we kind of do a little more hand-holding with them. But for the cleanup, we want them just to get in so they can kind of stop from falling behind.
So some business owners out there might be afraid of their current financial situation. And, of course, analysis could be something that, the whole ostrich with their head in the sand kind of operation.
That's right.
But if they're afraid of their current economic situation, what do you recommend is like the top priority for them to understand?
The top priority is, as much as they don't want to look at their numbers, it's really hurting them in the end. By just being knowledgeable on what the numbers are and understanding where it is on a monthly basis, it's really going to help them make better educated decisions in their business to actually either get out of the hole that they're in or actually kind of excel and start making some profit.
Yeah, cash flow would be something important to understand, right? I mean,
Exactly.
How much cash do I have coming in? How much is going out?
Yeah.
Right?
And how much can you sustain for how many more months ahead, right? A lot of that business owners don't know. You can ask them how long could they stay in business for without their cash flow analysis.
How prevalent is that for you when you have a new client coming in and you say, okay, well, tell me about your cash flow or tell me whatever, and they're like, I don't know what those numbers are. Is that common?
It's very common. It's very common. A lot of business owners, too, you'd ask them how much they made the previous year, and they really just have no idea. They've been working so hard in the business that they've just forgotten about, their finances or maybe their marketing, but they're just trying to keep it up from day to day and do what they're best at. But they've really kind of lost picture of the whole image.
Yeah, and I kind of understand it because we're pushing so hard to grow the business that we can lose track of the numbers.
Exactly.
Especially if we're a one-person operation, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so bookkeeping certainly can be helpful in finding or revealing hidden trends that are going on within the business. Can you give a couple of examples of that?
Yeah, so a lot of times after we break everything down, then we've got more data, right? With data, we can actually do a little bit more analysis. So from the analysis, then we're actually able to go back to the business owner and explain to them, okay, here's where we see some flaws or some room for improvement, and then that's where we can kind of set a plan for them, right? We'll set a plan for them and kind of help them work through it. And piece by piece, surely enough, then they can kind of start to make more of a profit than they're in.
If they have a budget, right?
Yep.
That's key, right? Jacob's over there going,
Yep.
So if they have a budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that businesses often don't have a budget?
A lot of times, yeah. A lot of times they come and they're not sure what their budget is. They just know, oh, we've got a little bit of extra money. Let's throw it here or let's throw it there.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's hope it works. But the businesses that do have a budget, it's at least that they're 50% of the way there. They've got a foundation. They're wanting to excel.
All right, and then of course you're trending on profit and loss. So, like, is the business declining or is it growing in certain areas? Is the profit increasing while the expenses are decreasing or the losses are decreasing? Tell me a little bit about how you look at that stuff.
Right. So profit and loss. How we work through that is we kind of manage what let's say if they have a cost of goods sold and what the revenue is, we like to take that percentage and see how it factors into the revenue. So how much of that cost of goods is really bringing in how much revenue a month. And then from there, we can kind of make some improvements, maybe better vendors, merchant service accounts. And then usually the two highest points are either your cost of goods and your payroll, and then a lot of times rent as well. So usually those three is kind of where we begin, and then we can see if there's some room for improvement there.
Love it. All right, Emad, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Absolutely. Best ways to give us a call directly at 832-518-9368, and you'll get a hold of one of our team members. Again, that's 832-518-9368, or you can check out our website at SimpliBookkeeping.com, and that's simply with an I.
Love it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Emad. Appreciate it.